Bill Melugin in Eagle Pass, Texas, with more. Bill.
Neil, good afternoon to you. Late last week, you'll remember Texas Governor Greg Abbott authorized the Texas National Guard and Texas troopers to not just detain illegal immigrants, but also return them to the border, to the ports of entry. We have just witnessed the beginning of one of the first instances of this happening. These two buses right here are Texas DPS buses. They are full of illegal immigrants right now. Take a look at this video we just shot about 15 minutes ago as these buses were loaded up. This was a group of predominantly single adults as well as family units, about 75 migrants in total here who had just crossed over illegally into this private orchard here in Eagle Pass. Texas troopers were here. They took custody of all of them immediately, separated them between single adults as well as family units, and then put them on these buses. What's going to happen now is they are going to be transported over to the port of entry here in Eagle Pass. This is a big change. Previously, when DPS would encounter illegal immigrants, they would just call Border Patrol and Border Patrol would take custody. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is fed up with what's happening down here, so he is cutting out the middleman. He is allowing his Texas resources to take these illegal immigrants and physically return them to the border, to the ports of entry here on the U.S. side of the border, and that is what is happening right now as we speak. Why is he doing this? Take a look at this video we shot over the weekend here in Eagle Pass. Massive numbers of migrants continue spilling over the border here in Texas day in and day out. You are looking at video of a single massive group of approximately 300 that crossed over on Saturday in broad daylight. These scorching temperatures, 108 degrees when we shot this video. It's 109 degrees as I'm speaking to you right now, but these were single adults, families coming from all over the world. It happens at nighttime as well. Take a look at this video we shot last night as we embedded with Texas DPS troopers on private ranches in Kinney County looking for illegal immigrants who were sneaking through the brush through these private ranches. Texas DPS troopers tracking footprints, backpacks left under trees. Within a matter of moments, we find this group of 6 illegal immigrants who are hiding in the brush trying to evade law enforcement. Keep inside. What you're looking at here is 15 miles inland from the U.S.-Mexico border. These guys had already slipped past Border Patrol, and if it wasn't for these Texas troopers, they would have gotten further into the United States. Last night, we had a chance to talk with one of the local ranch owners out there who had a human smuggler drive through a fence in her property last night in a stolen car. We asked her, what does she think about the administration's claims that the border is closed? Here's what she said.
Oh, that's a joke. I mean, they ought to come down here and fear for their lives. I mean, and they're not staying here. I mean, they're coming through my ranch because they're headed somewhere else. They're not staying in Kinney County. But the border's not closed. They're pouring across every day, and they're destroying our property.
And part of what you just heard right there is the reason why Governor Greg Abbott says he feels he has to take this action through an executive order. Those 2 buses have just left. They are going to drop those migrants off at the port of entry. There are still some migrants left over right here, mostly small children and some parents here. Some of the migrants brought this little dog with them as well, as you can see, but they are not going to go with DPS. DPS is calling Border Patrol to come take custody of them because there are little children in the group. So as you can see, fast-moving situation here, but what you've just witnessed is one of the first instances of Governor Greg Abbott's new executive order being carried out as state of Texas resources are now rounding up illegal immigrants personally and dropping them off at the border, at the port of entry on the U.S. side. What happens after that? We're going to find out. We got a camera crew over there. We'll keep you guys posted. We'll send it back to you.
In the meantime, to your point, Bill, you've already got the president of Mexico saying that this, shifting them back to Mexico is immoral, as if, letting them stay in the United States is not. He's going to be meeting with the president on this, who seems to share his concern about Texas here. Where is this going?
Well, I think a lot of people would like to be a fly on the wall of that meeting tomorrow. It's going to be probably a little bit awkward because, remember, AMLO just stood up President Biden essentially at the Summit of the Americas in Los Angeles recently. He didn't go. Now they're going to be meeting tomorrow. They got a lot on their plate to talk about it when it comes to illegal immigration, border security, the amount of drugs pouring across the border. Neil, all that video you just saw of those migrants spilling across the border, Mexico allows massive numbers of migrants to just travel through their country and arrive at their northern border with the United States. And that is one of Governor Greg Abbott's biggest frustrations, as he feels AMLO, the Mexicans, aren't doing enough to try to stop some of that migration to their northern border. They feel Texas really needs some help from the Mexican side, and they feel they're not getting that help right now.
Yeah, we've shown, and thanks to you, video after video of how those, migrants just move unobstructed through Mexico on their way to our country. Bill, thank you very much for that. Bill Melugin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.